you so much for having me. It's great to be here. As Jenny said, my name is Kelly Hopping. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Demandbase, which is in the account-based go-to-market space. And so some of this will be slightly geared towards go-to-market, but hearing Dave and Gabe talk, so many common themes around adoption, around sophistication, around tool drops. I love that one, around sort of point solutions for specific individual use cases versus integrating the whole workflow. So a lot of themes there. I'm going to back up a lot of what they said with data, because we just did a whole study about that intersection between go-to-market and AI and how they're all fitting there together. So right now, everyone is talking about AI, right? Everybody's talking about what it is, how they use it. They're using it for quick chat GPT cleanups, some quick research, some quick analytics, that kind of thing. But I think few are really turning it into real measurable go-to-market impact. And that's really what I want to talk about today, is how do we close that gap between AI potential and AI results? Figuring out how do we harness AI to accelerate our pipeline, to grow our revenue, to increase our efficiency, so that we can reduce time to winning. So really the goal is to move past the hype, like GenAI, which has been kind of the most common use case over the past few years, is not enough, right? It's really about how do we leverage AI to actually transform our strategy, not so that we can replace people with robots, but instead that we can put people on more strategic, more thoughtful, more empathetic parts of the journey and just automate the mundane and the repetitive tasks. So we're going to go through some of that today. So let's start with our first slide. So beyond AI, there is so much there beyond Gen AI. It's really about transformation of how we go to market. We've talked about agents, but it's really about workflows. It's about our entire go-to-market process. I think I heard Dave say something about if you have bad process and you're automating a bad process, it's still going to be bad. It's the same thing if you've got bad data or disconnected data or not unified data across your entire go-to-market. You're going to get a bad result, because garbage in equals garbage out. And so really, as we start to think about it, how do we become more precise, more scalable, more efficient, and trust the results that are coming out? I sort of think of it as this evolution towards, from kind of analytical and creative or, content creation to this self-driving car analogy. So instead of just having predictive insights, you can actually have prescriptive models that drive behaviors, that drive change, that drive automation, so that you can streamline some of those workflows. Okay, so let's get into some data, because I think this stuff is super helpful. Right now, what you can see is that the majority of, now this is about B2B marketers, but the majority are using AI a decent amount, 2 to 10 hours. And I would say even the majority of that being in the 5 to 10 hours a week space. So there is adoption. It isn't that people aren't using it. It's figuring out how they're using it and how official, I guess I would say, and organized that function is. You're also seeing very traditional Gen AI use cases, right? You're seeing copywriting, you're seeing research, you're seeing asset creation. You're starting to see more and more use cases and go to market around predictive analytics for account selection. Who should we go after? In what sequence should we go after them? What is the prioritization there? And starting to capture, analyze buying signals. What are the signals? Demandbase, for example, takes all those signals and prescribes which accounts to go after based on AI running all that analysis of those intent signals. And so that's really where we've been today. Where we're going in the future is a little bit different. Yes, there's still going to be some of the Gen AI capabilities and needs around copywriting and that kind of thing, but you see a lot more rise to the top in the world of campaigns, outcomes, orchestration, actually taking those insights and using them to differentiate ourselves. So personalization of websites, customized campaigns, integrating them all together across your go-to-market tech stack. I think that was another thing that they've said, which is when we're using these point solutions within different agents, within different parts of the tech stack, you end up with a really broken process. You end up with kind of just junk coming out. But if you have it integrated across your tech stack, all leaning in on the same data, all leaning in on the same same workflows, then you're actually powering all of it to give the right insights and teeing it up at the right stage in the flow. So that's a big part of that shift in readiness. So we're starting to see more and more of that. But here's the issue. Companies, adoption is super high, right? I know Dave just said, I think adoption is low. It turns out AI adoption on an individual basis is really, really high. Specifically within go-to-market. 91% say they've adopted go-to-market or adopted AI to support their go-to-market efforts. That's incredible. Even 86% believe that it will have a very positive impact. This was based on a study we did with ForgeX just recently, like in the last 2 months. And so we asked them really about what they're expecting, and they all have very optimistic perspectives on how AI is going to help. And that's awesome. The challenge is there's a lack of organizational strategy around AI. And so go-to-market teams, they're not making that pivot as much because they're using them in a one-off basis. Someone doing a test of Reggie AI, somebody using an AI tool to augment their contact data for SDR outreach, someone using an AI tool to generate content for outreach, somebody to automate meeting scheduling, follow-up, that kind of thing, like all of those pieces, but they're handled in this very niche way. They want AI. Go-to-marketers are hungry for it. We saw that 91% adopted and 86% optimism, but it's fragmented. It's not an integrated, intentional way across the organization. And I think we see that a lot in the upmarket. I hear it all the time where our sales folks will come to us and say, hey, they really, really want to know our AI strategy. And a lot of times it's the smaller companies. It's kind of the modern day born in the cloud company. I don't know what we're calling them these days, but kind of the born in AI companies. They want to know the AI strategy. They want to know what the roadmap is. They want to know how we're integrating across the workflows. But these more established, maybe legacy enterprise companies, it's so blocked from their organization in terms of their ability to bring in data in that capacity, to automate capacity, or so Predictive, maybe it's healthcare, FinServe, or somebody that has a lot of proprietary data, that AI is kind of blocked out. And so it's really that balance of how do we leverage it as individuals, but even more so, how do we make it an intentional part of the organizational structure? This is a massive opportunity for organizations to really lean in to build these functions. But with 52% actually satisfied with their organizational progress, it makes it a little bit harder to get there. Next, as we're thinking about it, I didn't skip to that slide fast enough. There you go. So you can actually see the data that I was talking about. The next thing is Dave talked about, it's almost like he teed up every one of these slides, which is beautiful, but he talked about this kind of AI journey, right? How do we get from sort of early adopter to kind of mainstream, kind of saturating the market? And so we call this the kind of AI arc of advancement. So this started with just GenAI, right? Data aggregation, those are table stakes. But from there, it was really about how do we get to AI's real value? And that really comes as you move through this arc of advancement, as you get to predictive outcomes that can drive prescriptive actions and prescriptive solutions and next best steps to full automation at scale and that self-driving car idea. But right now, it sort of is grounded in what are those trusted insights and data. And the value of that comes in kind of this connected intelligence view, which is AI operating from a unified, trusted data layer that's then feeding not only a tool or the agents in that tool, but the entire go-to-market tech stack. So those sophisticated use cases now include autonomous agents taking actions on your behalf, that are learning continuously, that are operating across functions, operating across tools, all of them that are all accelerating pipeline. We're not there yet. So automation at scale, I think, is where we're going to see the market go in the next couple of years. And I think it's also when we're going to start to wonder or notice if which AI companies are going to survive. I read stats all the time that say the average life of an AI company, part of it's because they're new, is 3 years, because they either go out or they get bought or they get reimagined, or because they get proven that by automating that one singular use case that even Dave mentioned, that there's not enough volume, and they're not touching enough because they're not running on a singular set of data. So if we think about where AI will be impactful in the future, what are the desired outcomes that a company is looking for, you'll see that they're expecting AI to impact the analysis of buying signals, the predictive analytics around which accounts to go after, which markets to pursue, and then kind of the automation of some of the tasks that go with that. So you have pre-automation of copywriting and research and all those things that you expect to be happening, but how can you plug that in and integrate that behavior with the next best actions, with the orchestration across the platform, with the personalization of your messaging on websites or landing pages or emails. And so this is really, it's proof that go-to-market's moving in the right direction beyond just automation, but towards truly predictive and agentic across the organization, but it's going to take time. But we all want to get there. So there is a high desire in the marketplace. So what are the issues? What's going to keep us from getting to those desired outcomes? I think trust issues is a big one. As I just said, we're really in this prove it era of AI. 3 years ago, it was like, 2 years ago, 18 months ago, it was, it's AI. Everything we need to do is AI. We need to, like, why waste any tool that's not AI first? And that was kind of the proof. Now that you've gone through, people have started to work through those organizations that are really struggling to prove the value of the AI that they're delivering, that garbage in, garbage out, poor data, poor insights, poor trust, bad process. Automation of bad process is still bad process. It must be built on clean, unified, relevant data sets. A lot of these newer AI tools, they depend solely on third-party data. The challenge is you don't have validation, so the AI tool takes the brunt if it's facilitating data that's not theirs. And so if you can, if you can have automation that brings together your first-party data and third-party data and integrates it around your workflows, your insights, your IP, you're able to actually have a compelling differentiation. So the stat I used a while ago about failing in 3 years, it's about 85% of AI startups fail within 3 years. That's crazy. So you can understand why, if you're trying to get executive, an integrated strategy around buy-in from the top in your company, it's why executives are wary of this, especially right now in an economy like we're in. They don't want to take bets on AI companies that may not be around. I met with a friend of mine the other day who is a partner at one of the biggest early stage kind of tech VCs. And he's like, I feel like I want to take a sabbatical for about 3 years and then come back once all this AI stuff is settled down. He's like, because it's all crap. Like, not meaning that all the companies are, it's that there's so much AI just junk in the market that it's hard to know which is the cream and what's actually going to rise to the top. So just know that if you're going to test AI in this prove it era, trust really comes from time-tested models, transparency, measured results. Okay, so where are we in this AI exploration? Pretty interesting stuff. There is a lack of organizational trust in AI and data quality. It's creating a gap in organizations. My light just went off in my room. It's creating a gap. So there's a gap in kind of how we're experiencing, how we are training, how we are testing. And so it's kind of losing its value altogether. And that's the issue. And so you kind of want to be on one of the sides. We have the AI dismissers. People have had to say, I've got to go use AI on my phone because my organization won't allow it at all. We have others that say, I feel like my career's at risk because my company won't adopt AI, but the whole rest of the world is going on AI. Like, I'm going to get left behind if I stay here. I need to go to a company where they're actually embracing it. Then you have others, like we talked to people at Snowflake, at Salesforce, Hinkle, and we saw this massive lift in meetings booked. We saw cost reductions in how we create email copy and optimization. We saw cost reductions around research, around content production that we need. And we kind of call those more of the AI explorers. And I think that gap is widening. And that's it's pretty crazy, because then you're like, well, how do I get on the AI forward? Because some of these AI laggards or dismissers are going to miss the train, and they're going to be out of business on that, I think. And so I think as you're looking at career, as you're looking at adoption, continuing to pursue that and learn and do that exploration is what's going to keep both you competitive as a professional, but also your company moving forward. Okay, next we talk a little bit about this, what we call the pipeline equation. Really, the right intelligence is what makes the entire buyer journey smart and efficient. So if we can automate key steps, it reduces time to market and headcount on manual stuff, and automates the higher tasks or the higher value tasks. This is about fueling accurate decision-making. You have to trust your data. And so unifying your CRM, your marketing automation platform, your intent, your engagement data into a centralized go-to-market data cloud, whether that's a CDP, that's an embedded CDP in a platform like a demand base or something else where you're pulling together first, second, and third-party data. All of that lays a foundation and then makes that AI actually actionable so that you can accelerate your outcomes, so that you can lower costs, so that you can increase speed to revenue. You can actually drive real-time orchestration across all of these, which helps you go after the right accounts at the right time. And again, this is in a go-to-market capacity. The next one is really about the complexity, because with all of that intelligence, many AI tools today are really isolated. They're resulting in these kind of dense, disconnected tech stacks where data doesn't flow, right? Having a platform that integrates your data, your intelligence, your execution is so key. True automation really happens when the data is unified and used across all of those, creating this kind of regeneration loop from learn to optimize to repeat across our go-to-market teams. It just won't work if it's kept siloed. So we use a few at Demandbase. I mean, just to kind of drop some tools, because I'm sure everybody's like, well, what tools do we use? There's some companies that are just AI tools, right? We use Jasper for content creation, for example. This is really about simplifying the creative stack. So what it does is has a built-in brand voice. It has templates. It is fed not by the World Wide Web of information as much as by our own proprietary data. So we can feed it our messaging documents, our go-to-market strategies, our personas, our ICP definitions, our target markets, everything that we have, our objection handling. I mean, you name it, competitive differentiation. We load all of that in, and then we can create content that's fueled just by that in our voice. That's pretty powerful. So we use that for content creation. We also use Demandbase. Surprise, surprise. We run Demandbase on Demandbase. Demandbase was built on what was formerly kind of called, or still is maybe, on machine learning and large language models, is really an AI-powered business. And it takes all these, it automates the collection of sort of first, second, third-party data, uses AI to power the insights that come out of it, and then automates the actions across marketing, sales, advertising, RevOps, using all of those shared data. And really where automation comes in that is prescribing who to go after, based on whatever intent signals, prescribing what message, when, how, all the things at the right time. And then it's also about simplifying the user experience, automating it so that you can unlock the potential of the platform. You have some of these big platforms that are so complex. The agents allow certain complex workflows like building campaign journeys or optimizing for end states or outcomes. Building all of that into the platform allows more people to be able to use it. It kind of democratizes the platform for usability. So pretty exciting stuff there. Another one we use is Clay. Clay it helps us personalize outreach, right? It kind of does data enrichment for us. People use Clay in a lot of different ways. There's partnerships across the industry because it's really orchestrating all of these go-to-market motions together. And so we look for ways that we can supplement some of that data. And then, of course, we also use Gong. Gong captures, analyzes sales conversations. We use something called Momentum that extracts the themes of Gong into a simple AI-powered summary story of what's resonating and what's not with customers. So all of these work, but they all work on one source of data. They are all fed by a shared data set. So what that means is that whether we get it through our Marketo instance, whether we get it through Jasper, whether we get it through Demandbase or Salesforce or Gong or whatever tool we're using, it's all feeding off the same data, which means that we can trust that it's consistent in deriving the same insights. So pretty powerful stuff there. Okay, so how is this being adopted? And how are we working on it? Go-to-market workflows are evolving over time. The old way, if you look at this visual, what it really means is the old way is humans set the objective and then humans ran each task to get to an outcome. So that was a very manual lift, humans doing all the work. And now it's really evolving to more of a current, which is a hybrid model. It's a little bit what they call humans in the loop, which is humans setting objectives, working with robots to kind of build, design, structure that first task. Maybe some things are automated, not everything. We're getting involved at some stages. Robots are handling the other part. And then we have agents kind of automating a lot of those things. The future, it's going to be a lot of automation. It does not mean that humans go away. It means that humans are now focusing on differentiation, empathetic leadership, setting campaign strategies, designing messaging and use cases that break through, identifying pain points that our customers are experiencing, and using all of those to set the objectives, to set the strategy so that the robots can then go automate. And I think that's pretty powerful because it's really changing our role as go-to-market marketers in that phase, which is pretty powerful. The next is really about buying groups. I think that's another way where AI is really coming in, because modern B2B buying groups are really, they're larger, more dynamic, harder to engage. You're not selling to one person, you're aligning with 5, 10, 15 stakeholders. Everyone has a different role, different priorities, different levels of engagement. AI is what helps you track, adapt to that complexity. But the humans are still essential for all of that relationship building with those folks, creative problem solving with those folks, engaging at a strategic level in a consultative approach, things that you can't replace with automation or with GenAI, right? AI handles the noise, signal tracking, prioritization, orchestration, but the humans then can focus on engaging the right people with empathy and insight. The next one is just really about buying into buying groups. So how do you use AI to really start to do that? AI lets you adapt in real time to buying group shifts and identify intent earlier so that you can build pipeline faster with more precision. It detects subtle changes in buyer behavior, surfaces early intent signals, alerts your team before competitors engage, so you can go faster and be smarter in the way that you play in the market. But again, I'm going to beat a dead horse here, which is just that clean, connected data is the foundation. As long as those buying groups are mapped to your same data set that's fueling your automation, that's fueling your go-to-market, that's fueling your account-based platform, that's fueling your marketing automation platform or your revenue intelligence platform, that all of these things are connected, that's when you're going to be able to get the right thing in front of these buying groups. So that's pretty powerful. So the last thing I'll kind of talk about really is about how do we grow pipeline using intelligence. And we've talked about how important shared data is. We've talked about how automation can help you focus on the right things. But really I think there's kind of 8 key parts that are relevant. So I'm going to go into each one of these because I think there's a lot of meat in here, and I'd love if there's any questions or anything that people have around it. It'd be interesting to hear. But one is clean data is critical. We've talked about that's foundational, but it's not just about data, shared data. It's about clean data. It's about making sure that you can trust the insights and the integrity of the actions being recommended. So that means you need data hygiene in your business. It means you can't buy off-the-shelf AI that's powered by somebody else's data. You need to trust the data where you're getting it from. The second one is really about honing in, and I'd love to hear in the comments, by the way, if people agree with any parts of this or disagree with any parts, but it's really honing in on intent intelligence. So an AI-powered intent tool unifies all the signals that you have to give you a real clear picture of the account. And so if you can understand account level insights, then your sellers, as a marketer, I'm trying to figure out how do I get all that into the hands of the seller in the simplest way possible, so the seller can then take those insights and outbound against it, understanding the pain points, understanding the engagement, understanding the intent that they've sent, understand if they attended a webinar recently about some specific topic, understanding if they're attending a certain event, whatever the insights are, that if I can roll that up in a really tight summary for our sellers, then they're going to be able to understand the account and go after them. The third one is, as we've talked about, content acceleration. This is GenAI tools like Jasper or Writer or any of these that are really kind of grounded in ChatGPT that really simplify and accelerate content creation. So my recommendation, I've seen such a difference in running through a ChatGPT enterprise license and using Jasper, because Jasper is trained. I've trained it on my voice, so I can automate content from me. We've trained it on the demand-based brand voice so that we can speak and sound in the corporate tone and voice. That we've trained it on our customer pain points. We've trained it on our product data. We've trained on all the things that are relevant to our business. This helps streamline the content creation and that loop that we talked about of intelligent automation. So content acceleration is a really big one. And again, it's not because I think that I want a GenAI tool generating our proprietary content. It's because I want every piece of content that we create to work so much harder. So if I'm going to have a writer spend 2 weeks writing an ebook about go-to-market strategies or how to use go to AI for revenue acceleration or whatever it is, that I want to be able to take that ebook and I want to create 20 derivatives of it. I want to create LinkedIn slideshows. I want to create video. I want to create, social tidbits. I want to create blogs. I want to create all kinds of things, topics for webinars. I want to use this one topic of proprietary content, but make it work as hard as possible in as many places as possible to capture people at different stages in their journey. And so that content acceleration is really about making each piece of your content work harder, not to outsource content creation in its entirety. Fourth one is account-based marketing orchestration. And I don't use the term ABM very often on purpose because I think it's so much more than marketing. It's really about account-based go-to-market, but it's really about using AI to coordinate those pipeline driving actions across sales, marketing, CX, with RevOps at the center. Again, shared data, not negotiable, needed for alignment, needed for impact across all of that, but orchestrating that account-based journey, that through line that goes all the way through your go-to-market, AI can drive that and can coordinate all that together. Next one is smart personalization. So I think of this as really simplifying your personalized outreach so that you can send fewer but much better targeted messages with AI-powered customer research. So this doesn't mean, again, that we're saying all email and all SDR outreach should now be driven by a ChatGPT or a GenAI tool of some sort. But you can personalize that outreach quickly by gathering up a bunch of customer research quickly and making those notes very, very personalized to get a higher hit rate, a higher return on time spent on those. Next one is really about conversation insights, right? Analyze sales calls. This is what Gong does very well. They analyze sales calls. They help you refine your deal strategy, help you work with deal acceleration, help you adapt in real time as to what's working or not by kind of going back and recognizing those insights from a customer call and turning them into the next best step to follow up and move that customer along. Two more. And again, I wanted to spin this really intently because I think these are I wanted to go through each of these because I think they're super, super valuable. The next one is really about AI forecasting. How do we use AI to understand your pipeline health, understand historical data, better predict where deals are most likely to close, where they're coming from, where they're moving forward, and where they're going to close, so that you can allocate your budget, your talent, your time accordingly. This helps identify not just where to pursue, but when and how hard and with what resources. So that's super, super important. And that's one of those things that's happening on the back end. It's not happening in customer facing generated content. This is about you operating smarter and faster so that you can increase your marketing efficiency, your go-to-market conversion, shorten your deal cycles, all of that. And then finally, I think is really about closed loop feedback. This is about feeding sales and buyer insights back into product and campaign planning. This keeps messaging, feature prioritization, go-to-market strategies all aligned with real-world buyer behavior. And so understanding how those insights can affect your product strategy, your roadmap, all of those are really, really helpful. And so you can plan the right campaigns based on where you're clicking, like where is it resonating with customers. So those are some of the ones. I'd love to hear if anybody thinks those are wrong, or if there's other use cases that they think everyone really can benefit from. And then finally, what I will say is I hear so many conversations. I get asked all the time. I feel like every time I sit on a podcast, people say, do you think AI is taking jobs? I do think there is some validation to that in certain roles, in certain places, but I don't think that AI can replace talent without some serious operational maturity. Organizations have to be really ready to use it to accelerate, not eliminate what your team is doing. Agentic AI is really a growth engine. This is about helping teams move faster, act smarter, scale pipeline. GenAI is just the starting point of that. It's really, the analogy we use is that it's really the GPS in a self-driving car. GenAI is. True transformation actually happens when agentic AI turns those insights into action and then drives execution at scale. That's when you get that full self-driving car. So moving people from doing the work of just mundane, repetitive tasks to actually driving the insights and the strategic differentiation, that's where we're going to get there. AI is the engine, humans drive that engine. Your data is really the battery that drives and powers that forward. So my last advice would be just be discerning when choosing AI partners. Many of them will fail. It is a prove it era. Ask them to prove it. Understand the data that is powering them, because unified trusted data is so critical. And if the input's bad, the output will be worse. So choose tools, strategies that regenerate and improve your outcomes, not just automate noise. As Dave said, bad process, bad. Automating bad process, even worse. And so you don't be a part of that. So I think now in the future, intelligence wins, automation wins, with humans right there driving that forward. And with that, I think I am there. Please let me know if you have any questions. I don't know the format if I respond to these comments in the chat or not, but I'd love to chat if so.
Yeah, it looks like we got quite a few comments on LinkedIn, so feel free to jump in after and engage with those comments. Thank you again for taking the time to share your insights, and I love your perspective on how to turn AI potential into measurable go-to-market impact.
Awesome.
So thank you for joining us. It was such a pleasure. If people want to get in touch with you, is LinkedIn the best way?
Yeah, absolutely. Kelly Hopping, I'm on LinkedIn. Reach out anytime.
Great. Well, thank you again. I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Awesome. Thanks, Jenny. Thanks, everyone.